Hello guys, I am Bikash, MBBS student of AIIMS Bhopal, and welcome to my new channel. What we are going to do, that we are going to discuss many important topic of MBBS syllabus. So stay with us and keep watching. It always amazes anyone that how any type of stimulus like exteroceptive information originate from the outside of the body, such as pain, temperature and touch, and proprioceptive information originate from the inside of the body, for example from the muscle and joint, travel to the brain and are perceived by accordingly. However, different type of stimulus is sensed by different type of receptor, which is travel to the brain in the form of action potential, which is perceived by the brain accordingly. In this video, we not gonna discuss about the receptor. We will discuss in a separate video. We will discuss how any type of stimulus like pain, temperature, touch, and proprioception reach the brain and perceive accordingly. Spinal cord act as a two-way highway through which brain communicate with other part of the body. Sensory information travel upward while motor information travel downward. Sensory information originate from receptor and travel to the brain, while motor information originate from the brain and travel to the affected organ such as muscles and glands, etc. We are going to discuss six type of tract here. First is dorsal column medial lemniscus system, which carry vibration, fine touch, proprioception and descriptive touch. Second is spinothalamic tract, which is again divided into anterior spinothalamic tract and lateral spinothalamic tract. The anterior spinothalamic tract is carry sensation of crude touch and pressure, while the lateral spinothalamic tract carry the sensation of pain and temperature. Third is spinocerebellar tract, which is again divided into anterior spinocerebellar tract and posterior spinocerebellar tract. This tract carry the unconscious proprioceptive information to the cerebellum. Fourth is spino-reticular tract, which is mainly involved in maintaining the awakeness. The fifth is spino-olivary tract, and the sixth is cuneo-cerebellar tract, which is also carry unconscious proprioception from upper half of the body. In this video, we only gonna to discuss about dorsal column medial lemniscus system only. Other pathway we will discuss in separated video. Four types of stimulus is carried by dorsal column medial lemniscus system. The first is vibration, second is fine touch, third is proprioception, and fourth is discriminative touch. Discriminative touch again divided into many parts. Second, 2-point discrimination, 2-point the ability to distinguish the 2 point that is touch in simultaneously. The tactile localization, the ability to localize the area that has been touched, and the stereognosis, that the ability to determine the shape by touch of an object. To understand the any of the tract in details, we have to know three order neurons. But in case of different tract, these three order neurons are really in different part of CNS. The three order neurons are the first order neuron, second order neuron, and the third order neuron. Note that now I am showing the easiest route in which you can draw a defined part of CNS. But however, I am drawing the pre-drawn diagram because I don't want to increase the bulkiness of this video. You can see I am drawing the sagittal section of cerebrum, transverse section of midbrain, transverse section of pons, transverse section of upper part of medulla oblongata, transverse section of lower part of medulla oblongata, transverse section of cervical spinal cord, Now the transverse section of thoracic spinal cord. Note that the lateral horn is a peculiar point of thoracic spinal cord. Now I am drawing the transverse section of lumbar spinal cord. Now I am drawing the upper part of the body, such as upper limb, and the lower part of the body, such as lower limb. The first order neurons are pseudo-unipolar neuron having a cell body, a central process, and a peripheral process. The cell body of the first order neuron present in DRG of the spinal nerve, and the peripheral process is connected to the peripheral receptors such as Meissner corpuscle, muscle spindle, Golgi tendon apparatus, and the Pacinian corpuscles. And the central process pass through the spinal cord through the dorsal root and travel along the spinal cord to synapse the second order neurons. Fasciculus gracilis is shown in red. Story start from here. After entering the spinal cord to the dorsal horn, the central process directly passed to the posterior white column. Here, the central process divided into the long ascending branch and short descending branch. The descending branch passed downward to a various number of segments and giving off the collateral branches that synapse with cell in the posterior gray horn with internuncial neurons or interneurons, which in turn synapse with anterior alpha motor neurons, which supply the muscles. Now you can see here these are ascending branch, these are descending branch giving off collateral branches that synapse with interneurons. These interneurons in turn synapse with motor neurons which supply the muscles. You can see the same story happening in the same spinal cord section, and this pathway is mainly responsible for intersegmental reflex and forming the part of the reflex arc. Now you can see the ascending branch of the from the lower extremity of the body pass upward medially in the form of fasciculus gracilis through the dorsal white column and synapse with the second order neuron present in the nucleus gracilis in the medulla oblongata, while the ascending branch of the upper part of the body pass laterally through the dorsal white column in the form of fasciculus cuneatus, which synapse with the second order neuron present in the nucleus cuneatus of medulla oblongata. Note that the fasciculus gracilis present throughout the spinal cord and carry sensation from the sacral, lumbar, and lower six thoracic nerve, while the fasciculus cuneatus carries sensation from the upper six thoracic and whole cervical spinal nerve. Cell body of the second order neuron present in the nucleus gracilis and nucleus cuneatus of the medulla oblongata. Action of the second order neurons sweep anteromedially around the central gray matter and decussate, means they cross the midplane and come to the opposite side. This fiber decussating with the corresponding fiber of the opposite side in the sensory decussation. Because of this decussation, the right half of the body sensed by the left cerebral hemisphere and the left half of the body sensed by the right cerebral hemisphere. So, the action of the second order neuron decussate to form the medial lemniscus system. I am repeating again. This fiber decussating with the corresponding fiber of the opposite side in the sensory decussation. Because of this decussation, the right half of the body sensed by the left cerebral hemisphere and the left half of the body sensed by the right cerebral hemisphere. So, the action of the second order neuron decussate to form the medial lemniscus system, due to which this pathway is also called as dorsal column medial lemniscus system, which is medial lemniscus is nothing but a flat fascicle of nerve bundle. Those fiber that are decussing is called internal arcuate fiber and from the medial lemniscus system, which ascend through the medulla oblongata, pons, and midbrain. These fibers terminate by synapsing on the third order neuron in the ventral posterolateral nucleus of the thalamus, and the action of the order neuron pass upward to the cerebral cortex, forming corona radiata. So we can see here the action of the third order neuron from a branch-like structure called corona radiata. And this corona radiata terminate by synaptic neuronal cell body present in the cortex of the postcentral gyrus. If you want to know that what is the ventral posterolateral nucleus of the thalamus, then we can see the Y-shaped white matter divide the pons into three parts, namely the anterior part, the medial part, and the lateral part. If we focus on the lateral part, we will see that this lateral part again divided into ventral part and dorsal part. The ventral part again divided into ventro-anterior, ventro-intermediate, and ventro-posterior part. The ventro-posterior part again divided into the ventral posteromedial and the ventral posterolateral part. In chart form, we can see the pons is divided into three parts: anterior part, medial part, and lateral part. The lateral part again divided into ventral and dorsal part. And the ventral part again divided into ventro-anterior, ventro-intermediate, and ventro-posterior part. And the ventro-posterior part again divided into ventral posteromedial and ventral posterolateral part. This is our target. This division look like a radioactive decay. To really understand where the postcentral gyrus is present, we have to draw a schematic diagram of the brain. As we know, the cerebrum has many alternative depression, which is also called as sulcus, and elevation, which is also known as gyrus. However, the main landmark in here is central sulcus, as it divides the cerebrum into two different function regions, namely the motor and sensory. The area anterior to the central sulcus is responsible for motor function, while the area posterior to the central sulcus is mainly responsible for sensory function. Post-central sulcus run parallel to the central sulcus, and between the central sulcus and post-central sulcus there is a elevation which is also known as post-central gyrus. The cell body to perceive the somatosensory response situated in the cortex of this region. As we know, medulla of the cortex is formed by action of the neuronal cell. Many fibers in the fasciculus cuneatus from the cervical and the upper thoracic segment having terminated on the second order neuron of the nucleus cuneatus. From where the action of the second order neuron enter the cerebellum through the inferior cerebellar peduncle of the same site. This pathway is known as cuneo-cerebellar tract, and those fibers that are forming the cuneo-cerebellar tract is known as posterior external arcuate fiber. We have already discussed about internal arcuate fiber. Now there is a posterior external arcuate fiber. The function of the posterior external arcuate fiber is to convey unconscious proprioceptive information to the from the muscle joint to the cerebellum for balancing and maintaining the posture. Thank you for listening me. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and if you want to help someone nearest one, to please share it. And if you want to see this kind of video, please subscribe our channel.